The office tower stood like a monument of power and success in the center of the city, a place where executives in expensive suits made decisions worth millions of dollars every single day. But deep inside its polished hallways, someone invisible moved quietly between offices, pushing a worn cleaning cart and wiping away the traces of the day's work. Most employees barely noticed him. To them, he was simply the janitor. But on one quiet evening, something unexpected happened in the executive floor hallway, something that would soon send shockwaves to the entire company. The CEO of the corporation overheard the janitor speaking fluently in multiple languages, not just 2 or 3, but 9, within minutes. The most powerful man in the building realized something was terribly wrong with the story everyone believed about this quiet worker, and what he decided to do next would leave the entire office completely stunned. Before we continue, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who believes in fairness, and subscribe to the channel Black Voice Story for more powerful and inspiring stories. The company was known as one of the fastest growing international logistics firms in the country. Its headquarters occupied 30 gleaming floors of glass and steel, filled with analysts, managers, engineers, and executives who handled complex trade operations across continents. At the top of this corporate empire was CEO Daniel Whitaker, a leader known for sharp instincts and an unusual habit of walking the building late in the evenings long after most employees had gone home. Daniel believed that the true character of a company could often be seen when no one expected to be watched. He would quietly observe how teams worked, how employees treated one another, and how the culture of the company really functioned beyond the polished presentations shown during board meetings. But one person he had never truly noticed before was the quiet janitor who worked the night shift on executive floors. His name was Samuel Okoye. Samuel had been working in the building for nearly a year. Every evening he arrived shortly before sunset, wearing a Navy maintenance uniform and a calm, almost thoughtful expression. He rarely spoke to anyone except to greet them politely. Most employees assumed he was just another contract cleaner hired by the facilities department. To them, he was invisible. Some employees even treated him as though he didn't belong in the building at all. Samuel, however, never reacted. He moved calmly through hallways, cleaned conference rooms after meetings, and organized the trash left behind by people who earned salaries hundreds of times larger than his own. But there was far more to Samuel than anyone realized. Samuel had grown up in a modest neighborhood in Lagos, Nigeria, the son of a schoolteacher and a librarian. His childhood had been filled with books. While other children played outside for hours, Samuel spent countless evenings reading dictionaries, history books, and language guides borrowed from his mother's library. Languages fascinated him. They felt like keys that unlocked entire cultures. By the age of 16, Samuel could already speak English, French, Yoruba, and Spanish. Later he learned Portuguese, Arabic, German, Mandarin, and Italian through relentless self-study. His dream had always been to work in international diplomacy or global trade. But life had taken a difficult turn. Years earlier, Samuel had moved to the United States, hoping to build a better future. Despite his intelligence and academic background, his foreign degrees were not recognized by many employers. Visa complications, financial struggles, and repeated rejections slowly pushed him into survival mode. Eventually, the only job he could secure was cleaning offices at night. At first, the humiliation had been painful. Samuel had once imagined negotiating international trade deals, not wiping coffee stains from conference tables. But over time, he accepted the work with quiet dignity. He reminded himself that every honest job had value, even if others could not see it. For nearly a year, he continued working silently inside the headquarters of a company whose entire business depended on global communication, while no one realized a janitor cleaning their offices spoke more languages than most of their executives. That reality might have continued forever, if not for one unexpected evening. It was a rainy Tuesday evening when the incident occurred. A group of international investors had arrived at the building unexpectedly for an urgent meeting with senior leadership. The company was negotiating a major partnership involving shipping routes across Europe, Asia, and Africa. But there was a problem. The investors spoke multiple languages, and the scheduled interpreters had been delayed by severe weather. Inside the executive conference room, tension grew quickly. Executives struggled to communicate clearly with their international guests. Important details were getting lost. Deadlines were approaching. Millions of dollars were at stake. CEO Daniel Whitaker had stepped out briefly to take a call when he heard something unusual in the hallway. A calm voice was speaking fluent French. Daniel paused. The accent sounded natural, not hesitant. Curious, he quietly stepped closer to the hallway corner. There he saw Samuel standing beside a group of confused visitors who appeared to be looking for the conference room. Samuel was politely giving directions in French. But what happened next surprised Daniel even more. One of the visitors asked a question in Spanish. Without hesitation, Samuel answered fluently. Then another visitor spoke in Portuguese. Samuel responded again with perfect clarity. Daniel's curiosity turned into disbelief. He continued listening as Samuel switched effortlessly between languages, helping the guests navigate the building. French, Spanish, Portuguese, then English again. The CEO stood frozen. It was not just fluency. It was mastery. Daniel had spent years working internationally and recognized authentic linguistic skill immediately. This janitor wasn't simply conversational. He spoke like someone deeply educated in global communication. The CEO approached slowly. Samuel immediately stopped speaking and politely stepped aside. But Daniel had already heard enough to realize something extraordinary. He calmly asked Samuel how many languages he spoke. Samuel answered modestly that he had studied 9. For several seconds, Daniel said nothing. He simply looked at the man standing beside the cleaning cart. In that moment, a powerful realization began forming in his mind. Something inside this company was broken. A man with rare and valuable skills had somehow ended up cleaning offices instead of working where his talents could truly matter. Daniel thanked Samuel quietly and walked away. But he did not forget what he had just witnessed. Minutes later, the CEO walked back into the conference room where executives were still struggling to communicate with the international investors. He observed the chaos for a moment. Then he made a decision that would soon change everything. Daniel Whitaker stepped to the head of the conference table and calmly asked everyone to pause the discussion. The room fell silent. He then excused himself briefly and stepped back into the hallway. Moments later, he returned with Samuel standing beside him. Executives looked confused. Some assumed the janitor had been called to clean something. But Daniel's next action shocked everyone. He asked Samuel to assist with translation for the meeting. Several executives exchanged uncertain glances. Some clearly doubted the idea. But within minutes, the atmosphere in the room transformed. Samuel moved gracefully between languages, translating complex financial discussions with precision and clarity. French investors suddenly understood contract details that had previously caused confusion. Spanish partners nodded with relief as technical shipping terms were explained perfectly. Portuguese and German questions were answered instantly. The meeting that had been collapsing into frustration suddenly became productive again. Investors leaned forward with interest. Executives watched with stunned expressions. No one in the room had expected the quiet janitor to possess such extraordinary communication skill. For nearly 2 hours, Samuel translated discussions that ultimately secured the partnership deal. When the meeting ended, the investors personally thanked him for his professionalism. As they left the building, several executives remained seated in silence. Daniel Whitaker stood slowly. Then he said something that no one in the company would forget. He reminded the room that talent can exist anywhere, even in places people rarely bother to look. And sometimes the greatest failure of leadership is not recognizing it. The following morning, the entire company received an unexpected announcement. Samuel Okoye had been officially hired as a senior international communications specialist. His responsibilities would include assisting with global negotiations, translation services, and cultural advisory for international partnerships. The news spread rapidly through the office. Many employees were shocked. Some felt embarrassed. For nearly a year, they had walked past a man with extraordinary knowledge without ever realizing it, without even asking who he was. But Daniel Whitaker believed the moment represented something much larger than a simple promotion. It was a lesson, A reminder that intelligence, talent, and potential cannot be measured by job titles, uniforms, or assumptions. Sometimes the most brilliant people in a room are the ones society has learned to overlook. Samuel approached his new role with the same quiet humility he had shown as a janitor, but his presence slowly began changing the culture of the company. Executives became more mindful of how they treated support staff. Employees began recognizing the value of listening before judging. And the story of the janitor who spoke 9 languages eventually spread far beyond the company walls. It became a powerful reminder of something simple but profound. Respect should never depend on someone's position, because behind every uniform, every job title, and every quiet worker in the background, there may be a story of resilience, intelligence, and untapped brilliance waiting to be discovered. And sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to look closer. If this story inspired you, take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in fairness, and comment your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel Black Voice Story for more powerful stories that reveal truth, courage, and the hidden strength of people the world too often overlooks.